Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Have you ever felt like you were just running, constantly looking over your shoulder, trying to outrun your past? Yeah, that's the heart-pounding reality in this thriller. Deon Meyer's Leo, which we're diving into today. So if you're into like stories about high-stakes heists, relentless chases, and characters wrestling with, their demons, then this one's for you. And hey, before we really get started, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into books and topics that make you think. You can find a link to Leo in the episode description, so you can check it out. Fair warning, though, this deep dive, it's going to unravel, like a whole web of secrets, betrayals, and this desperate fight for redemption.
What I find fascinating about Leo is that it takes that, the classic heist thriller, and it injects it with this powerful dose of psychological depth. Like, we're not just following this materialistically planned robbery, right? We're exploring the inner lives of the people involved, their motivations, their fears, and the choices that they make when the stakes are life or death.
Okay, so let's set the stage here. We meet Christina Yeager, formerly known as Chrissy, a woman with a past that's shrouded in mystery and a knack for survival. And she gets caught up in this audacious plan to steal millions from this seemingly like impenetrable warehouse. Now, instead of just, listing the steps of the heist, let's talk about what this plan actually reveals about the characters involved.
Yeah, you're right. The way this heist is conceived tells us a lot about each player. We have Igan Rousseau, the mastermind, like meticulous and controlling. It hints at, a deep need for order in his life. Then there's Themba Jola, the tech whiz, whose brilliance is almost overshadowed by a certain naivete about the real world. And we can't forget Jericho Yan, the getaway driver, whose cool exterior masks this like recklessness that could make or break the whole operation. And then there's Nikki Brenner, the insider, someone so desperate they're willing to risk everything for a piece of the pie.
It's like their individual personalities are like woven into the fabric of the plan itself. And as the heist unfolds, we see those personalities clash, betrayals erupt, and the whole operation just spirals into this chaos.
Exactly. And it's through those moments of crisis that Christina's true nature emerges. She's not just a passive participant. She's a force to be reckoned with, her ability to adapt, to think on her feet. It speaks to this level of resilience that was forged by a past that we only get like glimpses of at first.
Right. And then enters Babar, this mercenary who's tasked with recovery of the stolen money. He's relentless, brutal, and his pursuit of Christina adds a whole other level of tension to the story. What I found interesting is how this chase becomes like a psychological battle as much as a physical one.
Absolutely. Think about it. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, never knowing when danger might strike. It wears you down, chips away at your sanity, and forces you to confront your deepest fears. And for Christina, this pursuit seems to like dredge up shadows from her past, forcing her to confront the darkness she's been trying to outrun.
Yeah. And as if being hunted by this like ruthless mercenary wasn't enough, we discover that the stolen money is just a small piece of a much larger, more sinister puzzle. We're introduced to Muammar Gaddafi, the former Libyan dictator, and his hidden fortune. Then there's President Joe Zaka and his Harappa network, who smuggled this wealth out of Libya, turning what seems like a simple heist into this tangled web of international intrigue.
Yeah, this is where the story takes this truly fascinating turn. Suddenly, we're not just dealing with personal betrayals and survival, we're thrust into the world of global power plays and the lengths people will go to for wealth and control.
And right in the middle of all of this is Basie Small, this ordinary lawyer who gets caught in the crossfire. And his murder becomes this pivotal point in the story, prompting an investigation by Detective Benny Griessel and Vaughn Cupido. These two are like the classic mismatched partners, each with their own quirks and methods, but united in their determination to uncover the truth.
Griessel and Cupido are more than just investigators. They're like our guides. Through this labyrinthine world of corruption and deceit, they face roadblocks, political pressure, and threats at every turn, highlighting the systemic challenges of seeking justice in a world where power often trumps truth.
It makes you wonder, like, if they're struggling to navigate this system as seasoned detectives, what chance does someone like Christina have? Someone already on the fringes of society, fighting to stay one step ahead.
That's an excellent point. It sets up this intriguing parallel between the individual struggle for survival and the larger struggle against corruption and injustice.
Now, remember I mentioned those ex-RESs earlier, specifically Tauberger, for those unfamiliar, RESs are members of the South African Special Forces Reconnaissance Regiment, known for their elite training and combat skills. Tao is driven by vengeance for Basie Small's death, and his path collides with the remaining members of the heist crew. In this final showdown that has you holding your breath until the very last page.
That showdown is more than just, a climactic action sequence. It's a clash of ideologies, of personal vendettas, playing out against a backdrop of stolen fortunes and shattered lives. We see the ripple effects of the initial crime, how it's touched everyone involved, forcing them to confront their choices and ultimately determine their own fates.
And through it all, Christina is evolving. She's not just reacting to the chaos anymore. She's making conscious decisions, wrestling with her past, and searching for something more than just survival. It's a complex emotional journey, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on her transformation so far.
What strikes me about Christina's journey is how it unfolds against this backdrop of a South Africa grappling with its own demons. Meyer doesn't shy away from depicting those socio-political realities of the country, like weaving in those themes of inequality, corruption, and the lingering shadows of apartheid.
You're right, it's not just a backdrop, it's woven into the very fabric of the story. We see it through Griessel and Cupido's investigation, like the roadblocks they face, the compromises they're forced to make. It's a constant reminder that justice isn't always served so neatly, especially in a system riddled with its own flaws.
And remember, Christina herself is like a product of this environment. Her backstory, filled with abandonment, loss, and a sense of disillusionment. It reflects the scars left by these larger societal issues. It adds a layer of understanding to her choices, even the ones that might make us question her morality.
So are you saying her personal struggle for survival, mirrors the larger struggle of South Africa as a whole? Both trying to find a way forward, trying to heal those old wounds. To create a better future, it's a thought-provoking parallel. What do you think, listener?
Precisely. And that's what elevates Leo beyond, your typical thriller. It asks us to consider how individual lives are shaped by forces beyond their control. And those moral compromises we make when faced with difficult circumstances, it's a reflection of the human condition set against this specific and vivid backdrop.
Speaking of vivid, let's talk about Meyer's writing style. He paints such a detailed picture of the South African landscape. The fimbos, the scrolling cities, those dusty backroads. You can practically feel the heat, smell the air, hear the sounds of the bush as you read. Have you ever been to South Africa? It's like stepping into the pages of his books.
Yeah, his writing is incredibly immersive. It grounds the story in like a tangible reality, making you feel like you're right there alongside the characters. And you mentioned the Finbos, that unique and diverse ecosystem. It's almost a character itself, reflecting both the beauty and the harshness of the environment Christina finds herself in. Fragile, yet resilient, just like her.
And he doesn't shy away from the action either. The heist, the chase, that final showdown, it's all described with such intensity, such precision, that you're holding your breath, your pulse is racing.
Meyer is a master of building tension and suspense. He uses these short, punchy sentences, vivid sensory details, and a cinematic pacing. That draws you into the heart of the action. It's not just about what's happening on the surface. He takes you inside the minds of the characters, so you experience their fear, their adrenaline, their desperation.
And yet, in the midst of all this action, there are these quiet moments of introspection, where we get these glimpses into Christina's inner world. Her fears, her vulnerabilities, her longing for something more than just survival.
Those quieter moments are essential. They provide a counterpoint to the external chaos, reminding us that Christina is more than just a skilled operator. She's a woman grappling with these complex emotions, haunted by her past, and yearning for a connection that goes beyond the transactional nature of her current life.
It's those glimpses of vulnerability that make her relatable, right? She's doing things most of us would never even consider, but we can still empathize with her struggle, her desire for something better. We see our own search for meaning reflected in her story.
Exactly. And those moments make her eventual choice, her final act, all the more powerful. Whether you interpret it as defiance or self-preservation, there's a sense of agency, a refusal to be a pawn in someone else's game.
Now, beyond Christina, let's talk about some of the other characters. Griessel and Cupido, flawed as they are, they represent a glimmer of hope within the system that often feels corrupt. They're driven by a sense of justice, a desire to do what's right, even when it's difficult or dangerous.
They embody the complexities of morality, the gray areas we all navigate in a world where right and wrong aren't always so clear-cut. They make mistakes, they face ethical dilemmas, but ultimately they strive to uphold a certain moral code. It's a reminder that even within flawed systems, individuals can make a difference.
And what about Aijen? He's charismatic, intelligent, dangerous. His relationship with Christina is complicated, to say the least. He represents both a connection, a sense of belonging, and a potential path back into the darkness she's trying to escape.
Arjun is a fascinating character. His motives are never entirely clear, and he keeps us guessing until the very end. Is he motivated by greed, loyalty, control, or perhaps a combination of all these things? It's up to the reader to decide, and that ambiguity adds a layer of intrigue to their interactions.
Yeah, he's the wild card in this whole story, and his fate remains uncertain even as the other pieces fall into place. It makes you wonder, what will it take for someone like him to break free from their past? Is redemption even possible for a man like Aijen?
That's a question that lingers long after you finish the book, and it's a testament to Meyer's skill as a writer that he can create characters who are both captivating and morally ambiguous, leaving us pondering their fates and the choices they've made.
Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the historical element woven into the story. The connection to Muammar Gaddafi and his hidden fortune adds another layer of complexity and intrigue. It's not just a heist thriller, it's a glimpse into the world of international politics, corruption, and the far-reaching consequences of greed and power.
The Gaddafi connection does more than just add a historical backdrop. It highlights the global reach of corruption, the lengths people will go to protect their wealth and power, and the ripple effects that can reach even seemingly ordinary lives like Christina's. It's a reminder that the world is interconnected in ways we might not always realize, and that even actions that seem isolated can have far-reaching consequences.
And the way Meyer integrates details about Gaddafi's regime, the fall of Tripoli, the scramble for his hidden assets, it's all seamlessly woven into the narrative. It doesn't feel like a history lesson, it feels like an organic part of the story, enriching the thriller aspect without overwhelming it.
He clearly did his research, but he presents the information in a way that's engaging and accessible. It adds a layer of authenticity and depth to the story, making the stakes feel even higher and the consequences even more dire.
So we've got Christina's personal journey, the detectives battling corruption, the enigmatic Aijen, and this backdrop of international intrigue tied to a real historical figure. It's a lot to unpack, and yet it all comes together seamlessly in this fast-paced, thought-provoking thriller.
Absolutely. Leo isn't just a story, it's an experience. It takes you on this roller coaster ride of emotions, from heart-pounding action to quiet moments of reflection, forcing you to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature, the choices we make, and the world we inhabit.
But in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore the ending of Leo, its lasting impact, and what makes it such a compelling and thought-provoking read. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive, where we're wrapping up our exploration of Deon Meyer's Leo. We've witnessed this high-stakes heist unravel, delved into the complexities of the characters, and explored the murky waters of South African society. Now it's time to grapple with the book's ending and what it all means for you, the listener.
Yeah, I found the ending of Leo to be both satisfying and unsettling, in a way that lingers long after you close the book. It doesn't tie everything up neatly, but instead it offers a sense of closure while leaving you with some thought-provoking questions about the characters' futures and the choices they've made.
Let's talk about that climax without giving too much away. For those who haven't read it yet, the tension has been building throughout the story, and it all culminates in this incredibly tense operation, with betrayals, double crosses, and a race against time. It truly keeps you on the edge of your seat.
And amidst all that chaos, Christina faces this pivotal moment, this split-second decision that determines not only her fate, but the fate of others involved. It's a testament to her growth throughout the story, that she chooses a path that prioritizes something beyond her own survival. It shows this shift in her values, a recognition of the impact her actions have on the world around her.
Right. It's a powerful moment of self-awareness. She's no longer just reacting to the circumstances. She's actively shaping her destiny, even if it comes with a heavy price. I think that resonates with a lot of us that struggle to break free from patterns of behavior and make choices that align with our evolving sense of self.
Absolutely, and it speaks to this idea of redemption that runs through the novel. It's not about erasing the past, but about acknowledging the harm caused and striving to make amends, even if it means sacrificing personal comfort or security.
Speaking of redemption, let's talk about Aijen. His fate remains one of the most ambiguous aspects of the ending. We're left wondering, did he truly change? Can someone with his past escape the cycle of violence and deceit? It's a question that lingers long after the final page.
I think that ambiguity is intentional. It reflects the complexities of human nature, and the fact that change isn't always like a linear process. Aijen's story is left open-ended, prompting us to consider the possibility of redemption, while acknowledging that the past can cast a long shadow.
Right, it's like Meyer is inviting us to ponder the question ourselves. Can people truly change? Where do we draw the line between second chances and accountability? It's this powerful question that resonates far beyond the confines of the novel and speaks to broader societal debates about justice and forgiveness.
It's a question worth contemplating, and it highlights how Leo goes beyond just being a thrilling read, right? It delves into these deeper themes that make us think about our own values and beliefs.
One of those themes that really struck me was the exploration of identity. Christina is constantly reinventing herself, changing names, moving from place to place, never truly feeling like she belongs anywhere. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of searching for a place to call home, whether it's geographically or emotionally.
Her struggle for identity is a reflection of the complexities of the human experience. We're constantly evolving, influenced by our past experiences, and shaped by the world around us. The question of who we are and where we belong is something we grapple with throughout our lives. Leo just like amplifies that struggle and places it within the context of this high-stakes thriller.
And it's not just about finding yourself, it's about defining yourself on your own terms, rejecting the labels and expectations imposed by society, and embracing the messy, complicated, ever-involving nature of identity. It's a powerful message, particularly for anyone who's ever felt like an outsider, like they don't fit into the neat boxes the world tries to put them in.
Absolutely, and that ties into the theme of moral ambiguity. That permeates the entire novel. There are no, like, clear-cut heroes or villains in Leo. Every character operates in shades of gray, making choices that are both understandable and morally questionable.
Right, it's a reflection of the real world, isn't it? We're all constantly navigating these gray areas, trying to do what we believe is right, even when the lines are blurred. And sometimes we make mistakes. We make choices we regret. Leo forces us to confront that complexity, to acknowledge that human nature is royally black and white.
And it's in those moments of moral ambiguity, those difficult choices, that our true character is revealed. It's not about being perfect, but about how we learn from our mistakes and strive to be better, even when faced with seemingly impossible situations.
So we've covered the plot, the characters, the themes, but what about the overall impact of Leo? What makes it a book that sticks with you long after you finish reading it? I think it's the combination of a gripping plot, compelling characters, and those thought-provoking themes. That leaves this lasting impression.
Yeah, I agree. Deon Meyer masterfully blends the adrenaline rush of a thriller with a deeper exploration of human nature and the moral dilemmas we all face. You're on the edge of your seat 1 minute, and then pondering the meaning of life the next. It's a roller coaster ride for both the mind and the heart.
And it's a ride that stays with you, prompting you to revisit certain scenes, to reconsider certain choices, and to grapple with the larger questions the book raises about identity, morality, and the search for meaning in a world that often feels meaningless.
It's a story that challenges you on multiple levels. It entertains, it provokes, and it ultimately leaves you with a sense of unease and wonder that lingers long after the final page is turned.
And before we wrap up, I have to give a shout out to Deon Meyer's writing style. His descriptions of South Africa, its landscapes, its people, its culture, are so vivid and immersive that you feel like you're right there experiencing it alongside the characters.
He captures the essence of the country, both its beauty and its complexity. And he doesn't shy away from the darker aspects, the social issues, the political correction, the lingering scars of apartheid. It's a nuanced and honest portrayal that adds depth and authenticity to the story.
So to wrap things up, Leo is a must-read for anyone who enjoys a good thriller, but also appreciates a story that delves into deeper themes and challenges them to think critically about the world around them. It's a book that stays with you long after you finish it.
It's a story that will keep you entertained, challenged, and pondering the complexities of human nature long after you close the book. If you're looking for a read that will stay with you, Leo is definitely worth checking out.
And to our listeners, we want to hear from you. What were your favorite moments in Leo? What resonated with you the most? Head over to the comment section and share your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who you think would appreciate a journey into the heart of a complex and thrilling story.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.